Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Jackie's Joy, the channel where I do what I want because it makes me happy. So if you're here for the card making videos, they're popping up now, and the hauls will be next. So I do one of each, I alternate them. So we are going to get on with this. I think there's 31 of these cards, and there's a whole pile there. So we'll start with these ones because this is the end of the Christmas cards. Right, using a sentiment, layered it, popped it on a little green piece that came out of another die, added the snowflake, which is popped up twice, and finished it with gems. I've nowhere to put them, there's that bloody many sitting around me. So another sentiment that's layered on another little piece that comes from the inside of this, and then I cut my glitter layer, added it on a paper and a mat, and there we go. These are 5 by 5 at the minute. So my mat, my paper, my bauble die is layered twice. I put a white insert into it and added the Wishing You Both a Merry Christmas. My mat, my paper, a white stitched circle, a Merry Christmas outline, and then a Merry Christmas everyone, and I cut out a green poinsettia with red gem in the middle and green to finish. Oops, I left it 2 there. So my mat, my paper, a white wonky stitch die, a green tattered lace stitched circle, and this die cuts into the paper, and then I used my circle die to cut it out, and I added my Merry Christmas, which is layered twice. Finished it off with some green gems. So very simple. My frame is in gold and it's layered twice, and I've popped in my Holly Jolly Christmas, which is layered twice, and then I have popped this frame up on foam tape, and then I cut out the next frame and popped it up on foam tape on a green glitter mat. So this is the same idea, only this is in blues. Exactly the same way it's made. So these ones here are sentiment focal ones. So my mat, my paper, my die cut. Then the next layer is the white. Then the next layer is the red. And then the next layer is the sentiment in the white again, and a silver poinsettia with a red gem. Joy to the World, same die set, only this time we've used a 4 1/8 by 5 3/4 card. Finished it off with red gems and a poinsettia. Another 4 1/8 by 5 3/4. A piece of hunky-dory paper, that card that I had left over. And then I cut out my leaf frame die. I cut this postage stitch die in green. My sentiment is layered twice, and this bit here is popped up, as is this bit. And quick and easy. This here is actually a different colour from this. I cut this out from one pink and I cut this out from the next one. And I think that one and that one are the same, but I'm not sure, I can't remember. But anyway, I stuck it all together, cut into the circle die with a snowflake and put a white back behind it and then put it on foam tape. This is flat. And then my Merry Christmas, which is layered twice, is also on foam tape. Right, let's get ready to rumble. So these cards are all toppers. I have previously used these toppers on a die set, and I decided to use some more. So my map, my paper, my white background, and then a stitched die, square stitched die by Tattered Lace, and I put the next layer inside and popped it out. This piece here is layered twice, and then this is on top of that again, popped up on foam tape, and I added a Merry and Bright, which is also layered twice. Another 5x5, deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. Give me a bunch of holly, tra la 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 la. Right, okay, enough of that. So I cut out the back in red, the top one in white, popped it up. I cut out the back in red, the top one in white, popped it up. Layered my little sentiment on a couple of pieces of spare white cardstock, and that is my 5x5 card. So, my map, my layer, white stitched Tattered Lace circle die. This is also a Tattered Lace die, and it is cut out in the red. It's been popped up. Then my sentiment is my focal point. This is how you use small sentiments, focal points. And I added it on a white mat and popped it up, and I put red gems around it. So some blue and silver foil card, then a silver framed die, and then a bit more of the silver and foil card cut out with a square stitch die. Then that is then flat onto the silver, and the silver is popped up. My little guy is flat onto the white stitch square die, and then that is popped up, and I added a Merry and Bright at the bottom. These are cute. I like these. So I decided to go with a different colour of green and see how we got on. And it's not the worst. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. So my map, my layer, my hexagonal, then a white one, and they are popped up. And my little picture is on 2 layers of white cardstock, as is my Jingle All the Way. I must have 40 or 50 cards here. Right, we need to motor on or this video is going to take forever. So my map, my layer, wonky stitch circle die and Tattered Lace stitch circle die, then popped up. And the same as the last one, the red on the white, and the little guy is on flat, but the white is popped up. Jingle All the Way, and some blue gems. So my paper is straight onto my card base. This is a tonic scallop die, and you can stitch through it, but I do not stitch. It's not my cup of tea. So then my snowflake cuts into my card, and I've layered it twice. I then coloured it with blue ink and added it onto this layer, and it's this layer that's popped up. So then I had my little topper cut out with a stitch circle die. The next layer is silver with a wonky stitch circle, and the third one is a white one, and it's a Temu die. And Merry Christmas from all of us is layered twice and popped up. This is, I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. I've had it forever. So I cut it twice and staggered it. Then I added it flat onto my blue square that I had and popped my square up. My little guy is on 2 pieces of white card, giving him a little dimension. My sentiment is also layered a couple of times, and then it is popped up and finished with some red gems. Right, next we have the 4 1/8 by 5 3/4. So this bit I had cut out of a different die, and I stuck my little topper onto it. And I had this in my stash, so I got the same colour card and a mat for it, popped this up, and then my Joy to the World is layered twice and popped flat onto my card. One of the little long pictures layered on the blue card, then a white mat, added a bit of blue card behind my Merry Christmas, which is layered twice, and then this bit is popped up and this bit is flat to the card. So, my mat, my layer, white wonky stitch circle, flat onto the cardstock. This is cut out with the stitch circle die. A mat is the wonky stitch circle die. Then this is a Temu die, and this here is the one that's popped up. And I added this sentiment with a mat the same colour. So, it's thirsty work, all this talking. My white mat is layered twice and then popped up, and my sentiment flat, or my picture flat onto it. Then this outline die. This is actually a solid die, and I used the next layer to create a frame, and I cut it out 3 times, and it is standing proud, and this is then inset into it, and I added a Merry Christmas from my stash. So I needed something that would go round this, and I didn't have anything that would work, so I cut this die out, and it comes down and it comes over to here. And then I put this on it and I cut the sides off. And then I moved them in to give approximately the same distance as this bit around it. And then I popped that up and phoned to you. This is a piece of foil card from my stash. This sentiment is an old Hunky Dory, probably one, and I added it in a red stitch circle. So this is cut out 3 times, layered, then layered onto the mat and put onto the card base. I cut the picture out with this die and added it onto a red mat and popped that up. And then I used 2 smaller dies to make this frame, and I added it on top to give the illusion of another layer. and I just added 3 little red gems. And the last 4 1/8 by 5 3/4. This is the die that I used to create a frame with, but this time I didn't. I just cut the die out twice, layered it, put it on foam tape, another bit of that blue and white foil card, and I popped this up then, and then this is on 3 bits of white card that makes it stand proud, and I gave it a jingle bells at the bottom. Merry Christmas, everyone. This is a tattered lace die, as is this square stitched. And then this is a smaller one of that. The white layer is popped up. This is flat. This is layered 3 times and gives it dimension. And my Merry Christmas is from my stash, and I have cut it in white, matted it on black, and popped it up. Oops. So, my layer, then this is actually a frame that I've cut out twice. I put my picture flat and then put the frame round it, and I simply added a Merry Christmas in white glitter card. Quite an easy. These kind of toppers work really well with your dies, and they're quite an easy. So my paper, my layer, and then I used a Sue Wilson strip die in the same colour card and added a white mat onto it, and it is flat onto my card. My picture is flat onto my little frame of the same card, and then that is popped up. My Season's Greetings is layered a couple of times and then added on top, and it stands proud. So I've got a bit of glue on his hat. Oh well, it'll have to do. Right, my paper, my mat, and I used 2 more bits to create a strip. Then I cut out my decorative square die and added this on top, which is layered flat, and the square is popped up. This is layered onto white card. It's popped up on this side and flat on this side. Oh, jingle bells, Santa smells. I used to annoy TJ by singing that, you know. TJ was very much a Santa boy. And now he's just turned 12. On Halloween night he was 12, and now he's a big bad bugger. Big bad beautiful bugger. So, a mat, a layer. This paper actually is one of these. You have paper on one side and toppers on the other side, so you can use either or. So I cut a square stitch circle. This is a tonic scallop square. This is popped up, this is popped up, and this is flat onto there with my jingle bells at the bottom. These cards are quite easy, which I like, but then you can oomph them up by giving them dimension. It makes it look more expensive. So my paper, my mat, and then my circle die cut out of that. This is flat onto the card. My wonky stitch circle cut out the topper, and 2 more pieces, and it is popped up. Then this is layered a couple of times, and then this is popped up on this side and doubled on that side to give it the same height, and I added some blue and red gems. Right, we've only got 4 or 5 to go. Hallelujah, you say. So, mat layer embossed piece of white cardstock with a Spellbinders 3D embossing folder. I cut my topper out with this die, which is a Temu one. I then cut the mat out of the green and popped it up and popped up my Merry Christmas, which I believe is from a Sue Wilson set. Okay, my mat and layered. This is popped up in the red foil. This is popped up on the red foil. This is flat onto the white, and I added to a special friend from my stash, which is popped up and double popped on that side. Two more. So, two 5x7s, foil card from my stash. I cut the picture out with this shaped die. Then I cut the red mat out of the background, popped it up, added a double layered Season's Greetings and Bob's Your Uncle. And the last one is this one. Oh God, no it's not. We'll have to do them in another one. I've been on forever. I wonder how long I've been on. Doesn't tell you in this. 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Maybe I will do them. Right, same as the last time. Cut the picture out with that die, then a mat, popped it up on my, this is one of the papers from this set, and added Santa's Workshop in white down at the bottom. Right, these are the last ones. So my gold piece is popped up, and this is a printed Christmas paper, and my white is flat onto the gold decorative die. This is a Sue Wilson die set, a really old one. So I've cut the base out in gold and the top out in red, and it is popped up onto my white, and then the joy is popped up in the middle, and I've added, there is a little die somewhere that cuts the topper for this, but for the life of me I cannot find it. So I stuck on this snowflake one that I had. Now I just have to get rid of all these. My mat, my layer, my decorative frame in silver, and another piece of the paper flat onto. Then this is popped up. My sentiment is layered a couple of times and stuck flat onto my smaller decorative piece, and it is popped up. Quite and simple. Okay, we've got a bit of a vim here. So, these are 5x5, by the way. I took a little image from my stash. I cut that decorative piece out in silver and then in white and layered it and cut it out with a wonky stitch circle die. I then popped this up on here, popped this up on this other silver holographic decorative frame, which is also popped up. No, it's not, it's flat, and I've left the edges loose just. And I've added a ho ho ho, which is the same set, that Sue Wilson one. Silver gems. This cuts into the die, and I've cut it out with a wonky stitch circle, matted it on a green tattered lace stitch circle and popped it up. Took my sentiment that was layered twice and stuck it on here and found this little elf which fit it perfectly, and I popped him up. So I made a cloudy background and I made a glittery snowbank, added my little icebergs and my little walrus, and It's the Happiest Season of All is layered twice. Right, now we're on 4 1/8 by 5 3/4. So, my sentiment was cut out in this decorative die, and it's layered 3 times. Then I've cut the green mat, and I've popped the green mat up. Then I had the next die and cut it in a piece of decorative paper, and the next die in the foil card, added a paper and a mat, some red and green snowflakes and some white gems. This one's cute. I cut out this little frame scenery, added a cloudy background, took my little deer and sat him in the middle, and then he's popped up and my sentiment is popped up, and it says, "Have a holly jolly Christmas, it's the best time of the year. Have a holly jolly Christmas, I hope you all have one." This, another cloudy background, another snowbank, my little scene, and then my Peace on Earth is popped up 3 times to give it dimension. Another sentiment focused one. My sentiment is cut out 3 times and layered.